Hello, and welcome to Zobrio Budgeting and Reporting. Today we're going to take a quick look at the ZBR, Zobrio Budgeting and Reporting program. When you first log into ZBR, you open up onto this Home tab. As you can see on here, we can have a few different items, some notifications, some tasks. We can add things to our favorites, and we can see our recently accessed reports. If we navigate over to the left-hand side, we can, directly underneath the Zobrio Budgeting and Reporting or ZBR icon, drop down to Budgets. Let's take a look at how the budget entry works and how you can review your budget. Clicking the triangle to the right of the word Budgets, we get a drop down that shows 3 different stages of budgeting, plus something called our position-based budget, or what we like to call the PBB. I'm going to log into stage 1 and take a look at budgeting. When I choose stage 1, it opens up an additional tab. So as you can see here, I still have my home tab, my performance report, which I have up all the time, and my stage 1 initial budget request tab. These additional tabs stay open throughout the time of using the program. I can close them if I choose to. When we build your Zobrio budgeting and reporting, we work with you to design your budget layers. So if you see right here in the middle, it says, please navigate to the department layer to view budget data. This department layer is used for our demo, but if you have a specific layer, looking at your financial software, we might be navigating to possibly a project layer or possibly an account layer. To get to our department layer, we come over to the left-hand side underneath what we call the navigation tree. And directly underneath the word navigate shows our organization name. We're going to our community services. This would have the name of your organization. Choose the triangle to the left of the folder, and we're just navigating down through. So I need to go to the department layer. The first layer I'm seeing is my fund layer. And then the next layer I see is my department layer. I'm going to choose a department. Once I choose a department, my budget grid renders for me. As you can see, we have a variety of different columns in different colors. The first set of columns that you see here in the gray feed in from your financial software. So these are coming directly from your Financial Edge database. We have our 23 full year actuals, 24 year to date as of July, and 24 annual budget. Now, these dates here all connect back to something we call the time series. So if I drag my mouse up and over to the top left here, we can see it says time series if I hover my mouse over the little clock. I can click that and I can actually move through, forward, or backwards in time to a different year. I'm going to move forward here from July to October. And as I do so, you can see that it updates my year-to-date annual numbers. So I'm getting the most accurate data coming directly from my Financial Edge software. Zobrio Budgeting and Reporting syncs with Financial Edge every evening overnight. Whatever you enter in one day, you will see the next morning. To the right of those gray columns, we have our yellow columns that we use for projections. These are custom columns that we work with you to see what works best for you. So for us, we're using a current year annual projection that we can add in, and then we can take that annual projection versus the annual budget. And that's all based off of a formula, which we can see here behind the little beaker, that creates the column. To the right of that are these blue columns. Now, these blue columns are your actual data entry for your initial budget request. So in this stage, this is where you're first starting out and entering in your budget numbers. I'm going to scroll down a little bit to an open area and enter in a budget number. Coming right down here to telephone and telecommunications. When I'm hovering over my blue cell here, I get a little pencil icon. That lets me know that I can edit in that column. If I move my mouse up and hover over this bold number within the blue cell, I do not get a pencil icon. That's because these bolded cells are totals. So the total here for non-personal expenses is taking the totals from below and adding them up, and then adds them all the way up to a grand total. To enter in a budget, we just click in that cell and type in the number that we'd like to budget by and hit enter on our keyboard. As you can see, it automatically added the number in and it automatically updated the total columns above. To the right of that is another column where we can add in comments. We recommend this to be used when anybody is going to be reviewing a budget and maybe you're not going to be in the room with them. This is a great place to explain why you might be increasing or decreasing the amount that you're requesting. Maybe you're working with a new vendor. Maybe you're adding some new services. So in here, it's just a text field. Type in the information that you want and hit enter on your keyboard. To the right of that, it says monthly. This is our phasing, and our phasing shows us how the amount that we've chosen to budget by will be spread out over the course of our fiscal year. From our dropdown, we have multiple choices. Monthly, we can do 100% in a specific month. You can manually distribute the amount over the course of your fiscal year, and we can create any sort of combination here. So if you budget quarterly, we can have a quarterly option. If you budget 100% in June or July, we can change that as well. Up above in the phasing area, click this little plus sign, and that'll open up the additional column so we can see how the $5,000 I placed in here is being distributed over the course of the year. It does that all for me. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to take my $5,000 out for a moment and show you another feature that we have. When you're working in the system, you might want something with a little more detail behind your number. We have an option of having a worksheet behind it. So when I'm hovering over my cell, if I right click on it, as long as I'm starting at a 0 point, I have an option where I can add in a worksheet. This worksheet is where I can put some itemized information that creates my total for my budget. So once this worksheet opens up, all I need to do is right click, add a row, and then type in the information. I can add in multiple rows. It will tally up whatever my description is with the quantity, the unit price, and the total. And all I need to do is save this either on the top right-hand side, or I can right click and save it anytime. Save my worksheet. I can leave my worksheet open or I can close it by using the little X. I'll go ahead and close mine. Once I close it, I can see that within my budget grid, it says $2,500 and there's a small icon. This lets me know that there's a worksheet behind this number. If I need to edit or change anything on the worksheet, all I need to do is go back in, right click, and click back on the worksheet. And from here, I can add additional information. I can even remove the worksheet altogether. So if I'd like to add additional, I just right click and add additional rows. Or if I'd like to remove it altogether, maybe I no longer need it, I can right click, delete all my rows, save my worksheet. And as you can see, when I save something and it works well, we get a little green pop-up that lets us know all is well. Close my worksheet, and now I'm back to the beginning where I've got $0 and no worksheet. I'll back this out as well. Now, within the staging, I'm going to come over here to the left-hand side and drop down to the next stage, which is the recommended budget stage. I'm going to go ahead and open up my approved budget stage. You don't need to use all stages, but if you choose to do so, they're available to you. On the recommended stage, I'll navigate down through to my department layer, just as I did on my initial budget stage. My recommended stage brings in those gray columns from my Financial Edge software. It also brings in my blue columns from my initial budget request. But now that these blue columns are in here and I'm on a different stage, I actually can't type in these. Notice how I'm not getting the pencil icon over my blue columns. But I now have a different set of columns. I now have these peach or coral color columns, and those columns I can edit by. So within here, I can go ahead and add an amount. I could increase or decrease an amount. So for instance, 1,500 was budgeted, but maybe I would like it to be increased. So we added 500. But if I'd like to decrease it, all I need to do is put in a negative amount. So in these additional columns, you're increasing or decreasing by the amount that you'd like to change the budget to. Hit enter, and as you can see over here on the right-hand side, it's now reduced my recommended budget. Started off with 1,500, I removed 500, and now my budget is saying 1,000. We also have that column here where we can add in some additional information. To the right of that, and we see these also in the blue columns, and we'll see them in our approved budget stage, we can see when it was modified and the user that modified it. The one thing we don't have here is the phasing. The phasing comes as a calculation that is only found in the initial budget request, but it carries through the next 3 stages. That third stage is the approve stage. And again, we're navigating through down to our department. And then we'll see within this third stage or final stage, we still have our gray columns that we can use for review. We have our initial budget request columns, but I can't type in those. And then we also have our recommended. I cannot type in those either. Because I'm on that third stage, I only have the edit option in my last set of columns in my green columns. And again, just like with the recommended, I would increase or decrease by the amount that I wanted to spend. So if I take a look at a budgeted number and decide I want to change that, I can go ahead and do so. Maybe I want to change travel expenses from 4,000 to 5,000. So I can do a positive 1,000, hit enter on my keyboard, and now that changes my approved budget to 5,000. So we can see that within these cells, we can also use our comment area. Now, another wonderful feature that we have within Zobrio budgeting and reporting is our position-based budget grid. I'm going to jump back over, since I still have all my tabs available, to my initial budget request, so I can show you something that's kind of fun. I'm coming up here to the salary and related expenses area. Within here, as you can see, we have budgeted numbers, but these numbers have a line underneath them. This lets me know that there is a link to an additional budget grid. I'm going to go ahead and click on one of those. Once I do, it will open up the position-based budget grid for the specific department I was looking at. I'm going to discard my changes because I'm just using a sample. And once this renders, you'll be able to see here all of our employees for my specific department that I was in. So I was looking at development for my initial budget request, and it brought up my 3 employees that are currently connected to my development department. So this shows the individual, taxes and benefits, fiscal year, first name, last name, their position. As I scroll through here, you'll see many of the normal things that you see with any type of payroll. Department percentage, salary. Let's scroll over a little bit more. We can track overtime. And here we go. You start to see your COLA. We also have your Social Security, Medicare, FICA, retirement, and more. We customize this for your organization. So we work with you with the budget grid and with the position-based budget grid to make sure that we're getting you exactly what you need. Over on the left-hand side, underneath budgets, we see that there is a position-based budget and a position-based budget all. I'm going to go ahead and click the all. And when I'm in my initial budget request or looking at my department, I can bring up that position-based budget that shows just the individuals connected to that department. But this position-based budget all, or what we call the high level, When we click on the company, navigate to the company layer, we can get all of the employees for the company. So you have an option to look at just specific ones, or you can look at everybody within your organization. And as you can see here in our temporary database, we have quite a few employees. More to come. Another wonderful feature of the Zobrio budgeting and reporting is the reporting feature. I'm going to go ahead and click on reports here. And within our reports, we have our general ledger reports and our position-based budgeting reports. Zobrio budgeting and reporting can create reports that are very similar to Financial Edge, income statements, and balance sheets. We can also create reports that show us the budget view. And there we go. So as you can see here, I've got my initial budget request, recommended, approved, and it shows my final, approved adjustments, pardon me, and the approved budget. And I can scroll down through to see additional information. Now, I have a few different things open, but if I'd like to just refresh my screen, maybe I don't want to have all my tabs open. I can do so in a couple different ways, but the easiest way is just to come up to the top left-hand side of that browser and hit reload that page. Once I refresh the page, it takes me right back to my home page where I first started when I logged in. I'm going to jump over to the analytic area for a moment. Analytics is the area where we actually design your reports. So we work with you to design the ones that you need. We'll create some custom ones along with including some default reports. Down below here, you can see that we can create reports that are shared with everyone, shared with my role, so this can be for specific departments, or not shared. Maybe you're working on a report just for you. The little triangles to the left of each of these folders show me the additional reports that are seen behind them. Let's take a look at an income statement. This income statement renders, and we can see that we've got our month-to-date actuals, variance of them, budgeting. Now, as we can see up here, it says May. And if I come up to my time series and I go down to 2024, you can see that I've got a little check mark next to May, but I can change that. Click on October, and it will update my report to the most current month. The time series is a wonderful feature because it allows you to create reports and move back and forth. Say you need some previous month's reports, all you need to do is go back to the time series and drop that back down to a different month. Maybe you want something that starts your fiscal year if it starts in July and takes you right there. Over on the left-hand side, we have a variety of different filters that we can use for our reports. We can look at specific funds. We can look at specific departments, account codes, categories, full accounts, and reporting categories. We can also create some custom reports based on your virtual chart organizers that you have in the Financial Edge, and we can build and design them just like they are in FE. I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're happy to do a demonstration and answer any of your questions.